Should Rajiv Gandhi's assassins get clemency? And also, more importantly, is an inordinate delay by the president actually going against the spirit of the law? We're joined tonight on Talking Point by Dr. Subramanian Swamy, President of Janata Party. He's right here with us in our studios, a man who's got a very strong point of view in this case. D.R. Karthikeyan, former director of CBI, the man who investigated the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. He joins us from New Delhi. We'll also go across to Vaiko, General Secretary of the MDMK from Chennai, for the other side of the divide. R. Vaigai as well, senior lawyer from Chennai who's representing the convicts in the Madras High Court. Also Cho Ramaswamy, political commentator, editor of Tughlaq, will join us from Chennai. My first question to you, Dr. Subramanian Swamy. While we cannot question the wisdom of the Supreme Court in giving the death sentence to these three convicts, and hence the facts of the case cannot be disputed, are we then in a position to question the Madras High Court's wisdom in admitting this petition and staying this execution by 8 weeks on the grounds that there was an inordinate delay?
Well, first of all, there is a judgment of 1990 which is final, that if a mercy petition is turned down by the president, then a subsequent mercy petition cannot be given a stay. So to that extent, I think the Madras High Court decision was wrong, and I think the Attorney General should go to the Supreme Court and get the stay vacated.
Are you worried about the legal fallout, or are you worried about the political noise that's being made outside?
There is no political noise in Tamil Nadu, just a handful of people who are connected with the LTTE. The broad masses of Tamil Nadu are fully supportive that Rajiv Gandhi's assassination has to be avenged. Nobody is in support of it. Of the three people who are to be hanged, two of them are foreigners. They are Sri Lankan Tamil LTT people, and the other one was working for them. So there is no sympathy in Tamil Nadu for this. This is all conjured up a handful of people.
So one of the questions we put across to Vaiko was the only grounds on which this case is being heard is on the grounds that the president took 11 years to reject this mercy plea. Considering in this situation, isn't it unfair and causing pressure on judiciary, sir, to drum up political support and make statements constantly publicly saying that a person convicted by the Supreme Court is innocent?
There is no attempt to exert pressure on the judiciary. The condemned prisoners, on their behalf, we have filed the petitions from the Madras High Court. There are precedents in the cases where the final verdict was given by the Apex Court, and then mercy petitions were rejected by the President of India. In such cases, when the date for the execution also was fixed, even the Madras High Court has entertained petitions and allowed the petitions giving stay orders for the execution, and ultimately commuting the death sentence itself.
Dr. Swamy, you want to respond to that quickly?
Yes. This 11-year delay coming from Vaiko and Jethmalani is hypocritical, because of this 11 years, Vaiko was in the government for 7 years. First with the NDA and then with UPA 1. And Jethmalani was a minister for 5 years. So I don't see how they can make this as an issue.
Sir, I'm just going to put that point across to Dr. D.R. Karthikeyan, who had investigated the case. Sir, in most of these political cases, we see a delay in the president deciding on these mercy pleas. So in that sense, is it going against the spirit of a judgment that has been delivered by the Supreme Court, or are all these things taken into consideration when a judgment is delivered at all?
I would like to read from the judgments of the Supreme Court. Allow me to that.
Okay.
The Supreme Court says, in 1983, in the Sher Singh case, it said, I quote, "We must take this opportunity to impress upon the Government of India and the state governments that petitions filed under Article 72 and 161 of the Constitution or under sections 432 and 433 of the Criminal Procedure Code must be disposed of expeditiously. A self-imposed rule should be followed by the executive authorities rigorously, that every such petition shall be disposed of within a period of 3 months from the date on which it is received. And I also would like to quote the Supreme Court in another judgment. I quote, they said there is a cruelty and torture of a prisoner on death row caused by the inordinate delay in deciding the petition. The prolonged anguish of alternating between hope and despair, the agony of uncertainty, the consequences of such suffering on the mental, emotional and physical integrity and health of not only the convict but also his family should not be allowed in civilized societies.
But
what I'm saying is that there is no justification for such long delays from the time a mercy petition is filed and for a final decision to be taken. There may be many reasons, but the consequences on the convict, as it is argued by many courts, I am responsible for detecting the case, collecting evidence, prosecuting these 26 people. That's a different matter. I place the facts before the court.
Right.
Ultimately, the Supreme Court of India with 3 judges held all the facts to be accepted.
Right.
If somebody tries to dispute it, it amounts to contempt of court. I strongly object. But on the question of this, whether they are right in asking for commuting or not, there are 2 factors in their favor. One is one of the 4 condemned prisoners. The death sentence has been commuted for whatever may be the reason. And then there have been 10 years of
Mr.
to take a
Karthikeyan,
decision on this.
Right, Mr. Karthikeyan, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, sir. You were quoting a Supreme Court judgment from 80s. Subsequently, in the 90s, a 5-judge bench had overruled that, saying no time limit can actually be set for the president to decide on a case. But before we come to that point, Dr. Swamy, one of the contentions also being that if one of these convicts was pardoned after an intervention in this case by Mrs. Gandhi in the case of Nalini, why shouldn't a similar sort of benchmark be laid down for the rest of the convicts?
That's a self-defeating point, because in that very resolution giving amnesty to Nalini, they also said that the other 3 should not be given, and it was rejected by the government of Karunanidhi and forwarded to the president. That is, these 3 people,
right,
their petition was rejected by
Dr. Swamy, while the legalities can be argued, sir, but the fact that there has been an 11-year delay,
yes,
and the fact that in the cases, in the past, in cases the Supreme Court has held inordinate delays.
No, Supreme Court's judgment must be read fully. They also said that where the cases are of premeditation, there this delay doesn't apply.
Just want to go across to Vaigai, who is representing senior counsel at the Madras High Court, who's representing the convicts. Ma'am, purely on the legal point, does it stand the test of law to say that just because of an inordinate delay, this sentence should be commuted? Right, I believe we've lost that link to Vaigai. Just want to take one more question with Mr. Vaiko at this stage. Sir, at the end of the day, you may argue for clemency, but the crime committed, the point that Mr. Swamy has been made and others who have been opposed to this clemency plea are making, is that the crime committed was a grave offense, the assassination of a former Prime Minister, and a Supreme Court 3-judge bench having convicted the 3 in their wisdom. Are you not questioning the judgment of the Supreme Court, sir?
The whole case was tried under the draconian Tada Act, which is anti-democratic. So, under the Tada Act, using brutal torture, police confessions were obtained and 26 persons were given death penalty. And they could not move the High Court. They had to move only the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, where the 26 persons were given death penalty by the designated court, 19 persons were relieved from the gallows. So the whole case was built up by the CBI.
Mr. Ramaswamy, if I can bring you in here, sir, one of the contentions of those who are seeking clemency for the 3 convicts is that these people have been in jail for the last 11 years. Death row convicts are in solitary confinement. This is a violation of Article 21, so on and so forth. If there is one counter you would have to those seeking this clemency plea, what would that be?
Please answer the relatives, the children, the wives, mothers of the 16 persons who were killed along with Rajiv Gandhi, for no offense.
Mr. Waiko, it isn't just the case of the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi here. There were 17 others who were killed in that attack in Sri Perumbudur. How do you answer the call for justice from those families?
In this case, I want to tell you that these persons, those who have been condemned, these three persons, condemned to death, they were not at all involved in the crime, they were innocent. For example, the charge, Perarivalan purchased 2 battery cells of 9-volt batteries. Could you tell any petty shop owner will give a receipt for the purchase of 2 battery cells? Kindly tell me.
Right, I just want to get D.R. Karthikeyan here at this point. Sir, what does worry you more? The fact that there has been an inordinate delay and hence a clemency plea has been filed in the Madras High Court and there's been an interim 8-week stay, or the fact that the Supreme Court's judgment is in public discourse being questioned by these hardliners?
It doesn't bother me if someone is willing to make a statement which amounts to contempt of the highest court in the land. I have no comments to make. This is an investigation, the fairness of which has been praised by the lawyers defending the accused in the trial court and also in the Supreme Court. The world has praised it as one of the most efficiently and impartially, fairly conducted investigation. And people know very well, the people who are criticizing, they have themselves praised it as the fairest investigation in the past. So you make some comments to suit their, whatever may be the reason. I have no comment on that. Excepting I want to make don't interrupt with me. 91 it happened. We took up the investigation. Within a few weeks, we arrested 26 persons, including the 3 of the condemned prisoners, whose matter is being discussed now. The trial court found them guilty. All the 26, all right, 98. The matter went to the Supreme Court. 3 senior eminent judges of the Supreme Court heard this appeal for 4 long months, ably argued by one of the most efficient criminal lawyers of this country, and who himself complimented me for the fairest investigation. The accused have said this has been fairly done, we have been treated well. So the Supreme Court gave a verdict, and the verdict was, out of the 20, they said it is not under TADA. TADA will not apply. That is the decision of the Apex Court. Okay. So, but on that basis, what happened was 1 person was totally acquitted.
Right.
7 persons were directly guilty of murder. 4 were sentenced to death. 3 sentenced to life imprisonment. And the remaining people were guilty of lesser offences, not acquitted. So, but they have already undergone those imprisonment, so they were released. Out of the 4 sentenced to death, the death sentence of 1 person was commuted to death. Now the 3 people are here. So what doesn't worry me, because I have nothing against any of them. And I was not voluntary, because no other officer was willing to take up this challenging case in Delhi. The government of India pleaded with me, take it up. And I had admiration for Rajiv Gandhi. He was fond of me.
Right.
I take the duty to take up the case.
Right.
It is a blind case. People said it will never be detected, and we waited by absolutely from crime to the criminal. We need not allow any political interference. All that is there. So I am concerned. I have done my duty. My team have done the duty which has been praised by the Supreme Court on record.
Right.
If it is going to be result of, if some people get from death to life imprisonment, I have no problem on that.
Right.
I am not happy. I am not saying that somebody should be sentenced to death.
Just want to get Vaiga in here, sir. I believe our line with her has been re-established. Ma'am, you want to respond to what D.R. Karthikeyan and Subramanian Swamy have been saying, that it has gone through the entire process of law. Even the president has rejected the death penalty. This is, rejected the mercy plea. Is this just dragging the case further?
No, see, today the issue is whether the penalty that has been confirmed by the Supreme Court should be executed or not. We are only at the stage of execution. Nobody is trying to review the Supreme Court's judgment. The rejection of the mercy petition belatedly with an inordinate delay of 11 years raises the question whether it is constitutionally tenable today to execute the death penalty on a person who has been incarcerated in solitary confinement for 21 years. Now, the Indian Penal Code says that the person can be punished for murder with either life imprisonment or death. Now, these people have already been in prison for 21 years in solitary confinement.
Right.
And after the Supreme Court decided the case, they immediately filed a mercy petition with the governor. Governor rejected it. Then they went before the president in the year 2000. There's absolutely no explanation. Mr. Subramanian Swamy may find fault with Mr. Ram Jethmalani or Mr. Vaiko for having raised the issue. Let us not forget that the issue is being raised by the prisoners and not by Mr. Jethmalani or by Mr. Vaiko. It is these people, convicts who are inside the prison, who are crying for justice.
Okay.
Mr. Swamy?
They have died 1,000 deaths.
I'm sorry, she's got me wrong. I said that these two people were in government. They didn't do anything to expedite the matter. They, in fact, I can tell you, I know from personal knowledge, they tried to delay the matter. So today for them to come and use the same delay it's a mark of hypocrisy.
Dr. Swamy, while this plays out legally in court and we'll see the Attorney General file the central government's, I just want to talk about the political discourse taking place in Tamil Nadu. We've had the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister tweet just a few minutes back saying if the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly had passed a resolution similar to Tamil Nadu, one for Afzal Guru, would the reaction have been just as muted? This is setting a precedent, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is precisely the point. Number one, are we going to be a soft state or not? Do we want to be a soft state? Number two, how can you have two different standards, one for the Hindus of LTT and the other is Afzal Guru? This will have huge ramifications.
Do you want to respond to that, Vaigai, that is this going to set a precedent? There are several other cases which are still pending.
No, my view is very clear. Firstly, I'm totally against capital punishment. Secondly, I think the same kind of yardstick should be applied for everybody. Therefore, I don't think that any communal card can be played on this issue. All the prisoners deserve mercy, and I think uniform standards ought to be applied. If there is a delay, Supreme Court very clearly says that it is inhuman to execute the sentence, and on that ground, the sentence must be commuted to one of life imprisonment. It's very clear.
Right.
The position in law is very clear.
The reason we are having this debate is because of an inordinate delay on the part of Rashtrapati Bhavan to dispose of this plea. Till that is sorted out, perhaps these debates will continue to go on over every mercy plea.
One correction. It is not Rashtrapati Bhavan. Rashtrapati Bhavan got it only on March of this year.
Right. It's
it
on
is the
part of the
Home
political
Ministry.
establishment.
Home Ministry.
Political establishment, whichever government is, until such delay happens, it will be the basis for further debates and further politics over mercy pleas. Appreciate you joining us, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, D.R. Karthikeyan, Vaigai from Chennai, Cho Ramaswamy and Vaiko as well. Two very different points of view, two very strong points of view. Well, will it be purely based on the law or would it be influenced by the political overtones outside? We'll wait and watch for that final judgment from the Madras High Court in this matter.